The train rumbles through the night, its headlights cutting through the impenetrable darkness of the North Korean countryside. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the tracks is the only sound that breaks the eerie silence of the night. Inside, families huddle together, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. Mothers clutch their children tightly, trying to shield them from the harsh reality that surrounds them. Fathers sit in silence, their eyes darting nervously, always on the lookout for any sign of danger. They dare not speak. To do so is to risk everything. The tension is palpable, a heavy weight that presses down on everyone in the compartment. Each passenger is acutely aware that a single word, a single misstep could lead to dire consequences. Every rustle, every whisper could be the secret police, always listening, always watching. The fear of being overheard is ever present, a constant reminder of the oppressive regime that governs their lives. This is North Korea, a land shrouded in secrecy where fear is a constant companion. The streets are empty, the villages deserted, as if the very land itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to break the silence. Here, beneath the facade of propaganda and military parades, a darker truth festers. The grand displays of power and unity are but a thin veneer, hiding the suffering and despair that lie just beneath the surface. It is a truth whispered in hushed tones, hidden from the prying eyes of the outside world. In dark alleys and behind closed doors, people share their fears and hopes in whispers, always wary of who might be listening. This is the story of Kim Jong-un's reign, a tale of unimaginable cruelty and the unyielding spirit of a people trapped in a nightmare. His speeches, filled with grandiose promises, stand in stark contrast to the reality faced by his citizens. This is not just about politics. It is about human lives. Lives marked by hardship and oppression, where every day is a struggle for survival. The faces of the people tell a story of resilience and endurance in the face of overwhelming odds. Lives crushed under the weight of a totalitarian regime, where every aspect of existence is controlled, manipulated, and ultimately expendable. The bleak urban landscapes reflect the hopelessness that pervades the lives of those who live there. This is about the millions trapped within North Korea's borders, yearning for the freedoms most of us take for granted. This is their story. A story of hope and despair, of dreams deferred but never forgotten, of a people who, despite everything, continue to yearn for a better future. Kim Jong-un. The name itself sends chills down the spines of those who dare to utter it within North Korea. He is the embodiment of the regime, a young dictator who inherited his father's iron fist and tightened its grip. His portraits adorn every wall, his words are law, his image omnipresent and inescapable. Underneath the facade of manufactured charisma lies a brutal dictator responsible for unimaginable atrocities against his own people. Forced labor camps, public executions, and systematic starvation are tools of his trade. Fear is his weapon, obedience his currency. His control is absolute, reaching into every corner of North Korean life. From the clothes they wear to the songs they sing, every aspect of existence is dictated by the state. This is a nation held hostage, not by a foreign power, but by its own government. Behind the statistics, the reports, and the headlines are real people. These are individuals with dreams, fears, and hopes just like anyone else. They are not mere numbers or faceless entities. They are human beings with stories that deserve to be told. Mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, all living under the suffocating grip of the regime. They wake up each day with the weight of oppression bearing down on them, knowing that any misstep could lead to dire consequences. Their stories are a stark reminder of the human cost of Kim Jong-un's ambition. These are tales of resilience and survival, of enduring unimaginable hardships in the hope of a better future. Each face tells a story of pain, but also of an unbroken spirit. We hear whispers of families torn apart, sent to labor camps for the smallest infraction. These camps are places of unimaginable suffering, where people are forced to work under brutal conditions, often with little food or rest. We learn of children forced to watch public executions, a brutal lesson in obedience. These young minds are scarred by the violence they witness, growing up in a world where fear is a constant companion. Their stories, smuggled out by defectors who risked everything to escape, paint a chilling picture of life inside North Korea. These brave souls risk their lives to share the truth, hoping to shed light on the darkness that shrouds their homeland. One defector, a young woman who barely escaped with her life, speaks of the constant hunger, the fear of being reported for a stray word, the crushing weight of hopelessness. She recounts nights spent in hiding, always looking over her shoulder, never knowing who to trust. Her story is not unique, it is the shared experience of millions. Each defector carries with them the weight of countless untold stories, each one a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Their voices, though muted by fear and distance, deserve to be heard. These are voices that speak of suffering, but also of hope. They remind us of the importance of freedom and the lengths to which people will go to achieve it. For in their stories lies the truth about North Korea, a truth the regime desperately tries to conceal. It is a truth that must be brought to light, for only then can we begin to understand the full extent of the suffering endured by the North Korean people. To question the regime is to invite death. In a land where freedom is a distant dream, dissent is a dangerous act of defiance. To speak out against the government is to disappear, swallowed whole by the vast network of prisons and labor camps. These places are not just for punishment, but for breaking the human spirit. The price of dissent is steep, paid for in blood, sweat, and tears. Every cry for justice is met with brutal repression, every plea for mercy with cold indifference. Food is scarce, reserved for the elite and those deemed loyal to the regime. While the powerful feast, the common people starve, their cries for help ignored. The majority of the population survives on meager rations, their bodies ravaged by malnutrition. Children grow up stunted, their futures stolen by hunger. This manufactured famine is a tool of control, a way to keep the populace weak and compliant. The regime uses starvation as a weapon, ensuring that survival itself becomes a daily struggle. The world has witnessed the devastating effects of Kim Jong-un's policies. Families are torn apart, lives are destroyed, and hope is a rare commodity. Satellite images reveal the stark contrast between the gleaming skyscrapers of Pyongyang and the barren countryside where millions struggle to survive. The disparity is a glaring testament to the regime's priorities. This is not a natural disaster. It is a man-made catastrophe, a deliberate act of cruelty inflicted upon a nation held captive by its own government. The suffering is immense, the injustice profound, and the world watches, often in silence. The world is not blind to the suffering of the North Korean people. We see the reports, we hear the testimonies, we witness the satellite images that tell a story of unimaginable hardship. Yet, our response often feels muted, inadequate in the face of such immense suffering. Sanctions are imposed, condemnations are issued, yet the regime remains defiant. The reasons for this inaction are complex, a tangled web of geopolitics, strategic interests, and fear of escalation. But for the people of North Korea, these explanations ring hollow. They are left to wonder why the world seems content to stand by while they suffer, why their cries for help are met with silence, why their humanity seems to matter so little. Despite the darkness, a flicker of hope remains. Deep within the hearts of the North Korean people, a yearning for freedom persists. It is a hope fueled by the stories of those who escaped, by the whispers of a different life beyond the barbed wire fences. This hope manifests itself in small acts of defiance, in whispered conversations, in the preservation of traditions the regime tries to erase. It is a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human soul, a refusal to be broken by oppression. The road to freedom is long and perilous, but the dream of a better tomorrow continues to burn bright. A day when the people of North Korea will finally know peace, prosperity, and the freedom to live their lives without fear. A faint crack in the regime's iron grip can be seen in the most unexpected of places: technology. The flow of information, though tightly controlled, is becoming increasingly difficult to contain. Smuggled cell phones and USB drives are carrying news from the outside world, chipping away at the regime's carefully constructed narrative. The internet, while largely inaccessible to the general population, is slowly making its way into North Korea. With it comes a glimpse of a different world, a world where information flows freely and people are free to think for themselves. This trickle of information, though small, is a powerful weapon against tyranny. It is a reminder to the North Korean people that they are not alone, that the world has not forgotten them. The fight for freedom is not just about grand gestures. It is about seizing every opportunity, no matter how small, to chip away at the regime's control. It is about supporting organizations working to provide humanitarian aid and information to the North Korean people. It is about amplifying the voices of defectors, sharing their stories, and ensuring that the world never forgets the plight of those trapped inside North Korea. It is about maintaining pressure on the regime, holding them accountable for their actions, and demanding change. The road ahead is long and arduous, but we cannot afford to turn away. The fate of millions hangs in the balance, and we must not let them down. This is not just a story, it is a call to action. We must not allow the people of North Korea to suffer in silence. We must use our voices to amplify theirs, to demand justice, and to fight for a day when the darkness that engulfs their nation is finally lifted. Educate yourself about the situation in North Korea. Support organizations working to provide humanitarian aid and information to the North Korean people. Contact your elected officials and urge them to take action. Share the stories of North Korean defectors. Every voice raised, every action taken brings us one step closer to a brighter future for the people of North Korea. Let us not rest until their cries for freedom are finally answered.